The year was 1993 when Reggae Sumfest was born. Created out of a need to fill the void left by the departure of Reggae Sunsplash, Sumfest is now a veritable reggae institution in the Jamaican landscape. iReggae Nation is at the Courtly Hotel and is delighted to sit down and have a chat with Sumfest Executive Director Johnny Gourzong. Let's learn about the man, the mission, and the memories. Johnny Gourzong. John Alexander Gordon Gourzong. Didn't know you had so many names. What's the history of the Gourzongs as you know it?
Well, the history of the Gourzong name is actually a French name, and it used to be Guzon. So the R came in the transition because I think it was my great-great-grandfather migrated to Haiti initially and then came on to Jamaica. There are some kind of colorful stories about why they left France, but we won't go into that.
Alright, not a problem. Okay,
so they added the R, so it's really Gourzong.
Okay.
And then the R came in, so some people call me Gourzong, others the R is silent, so
so
it remains right. But it's a French name.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people don't pronounce it properly, so I'm anything and everything.
So your father he was Jamaican?
Yes.
Having been born in Jamaica?
Yes, man, and his father too, Jamaican, so it's a great-great-grandfather that came from France.
Okay.
My father, initially he worked with the government, and then he opened his own business.
Okay. That's the entrepreneurial spirit.
That's the entrepreneurial spirit, and then after he was an insurance salesman. With in those days Jamaica Mutual Life.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And your mother, Sybil?
My mother, Sybil, she had one job all her life. After she left school, she worked with Samuel Hart and Sons. That's the Tony Hart's people.
The Harts,
right.
Okay. In,
she was an accountant, and she worked with them for 50-odd years.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so your father, what was he like?
A wonderful man.
Yeah.
Yes. I came from a deeply religious family.
Yeah.
And family was everything.
Okay.
Yes, I have a brother, I have a sister.
Yes.
My father and mother were married until he passed away.
Yes.
But they must have been married for like 50 years or more.
What are some of the qualities that he imparted to you as a young boy?
Humility, compassion, that you must be thankful for what you have. You don't have everything. A lot of people perhaps are better off, but you are better off than a lot of people, so be thankful for that. Kindness, that you must be always be prepared to help other persons, to give when you can.
I must say though that you learned well, because from just observing you over the years, you have a grace about you. For somebody so accomplished, you don't seem very proud. You seem very easy to be around, and I'm even getting that vibe in our chat here. So I think you learned those lessons well from your dad. You're
flattering me, but he was like that,
He was.
Yes. And then we grew up in Montego Bay.
Yes. Where in Montego Bay?
Well, I grew up first on Market Street.
Yes.
So in town.
Okay.
So and then we moved from Market Street to King Street. So all of my formative years was in Montego Bay. So I grew up around everybody, so I could switch easily from the King to the Pauper.
Okay. So that is how that ability was engendered.
Yes. So.
Describe a typical day as a child growing up in Montego Bay.
Well, in the holidays, it was going to Doctor's Cave. And then playing sports, either cricket or football.
Okay.
And on a Saturday, we went to what was called matinee.
Yes.
The movies,
Yes. 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock matinee at either Strand Theatre or Palladium Theatre. Of course, during the school term, it was going to school. We walked to school too. I mean, I said people know driving their kids to school. I never knew what that was.
Oh yeah.
As a matter of fact, we walked to the beach. Nobody was giving any drive to the beach. We walked everywhere, and then as we grew older, we got bicycles and we rode everywhere.
So it was around that time you met your wife, Leanne?
She was a next door neighbor.
Oh,
I met her from she was 7 or 8 years old.
Yes. Long time you watch her.
Or maybe she was watching me. Or we're watching each other.
Okay, watching each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to Cornwall College.
I went to Cornwall, yes.
Okay, the premier high school in St. James?
No.
It wasn't?
No, man, it's the premier high school in Jamaica.
I walked right into that one.
You walked into that.
I walked right into that one.
Yeah.
Okay, how was that like? I like.
Oh, it was a fantastic experience. You know
yes.
what amazes me is that,
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people,
Yes.
lot of women,
Yes.
when they're around us, they say, "But you know, all you do is talk about Cornwall."
Yes. Yes.
And you spent 7 years there. Out of all of these
Right,
years,
right.
yet it seems to have consumed
Yes.
so much
Yeah.
of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, all my friends, well, not all, but a lot of my friends today are
Yes.
all Cornwall College colleagues. I mean,
okay.
even last night we were together,
Yes.
about 4 or 5 of us, you know,
Yes.
all from Cornwall.
Okay. I
So-
think our uniqueness in our high school culture, you know, as compared to the collegiate system in the States where they define themselves by the colleges they went to, but we define ourselves by the high schools we attended. Why do you think that's so engendered in our culture?
That's a good question, but I don't know, maybe it's because as boys certainly we
Yes.
were together, reaching the age of puberty together.
Yes.
And kind of exploring life together.
Yes.
So, as I said, it defined our formative years as teenagers. And I think that has kind of stayed with us
Yes.
throughout the rest of our lives. So the personalities were shaped then. And I
Yes,
think those
yes.
personalities have lived on
Yes.
for the next 30, 40, 50 years.
Interesting perspective.
Yeah.
How different is Montego Bay now compared to when you were growing up?
Well, when I was growing up again, Montego Bay, it was the early years of tourism.
Okay.
And although we have way more tourists today coming into Montego Bay, then Montego Bay was a hub, full of activity, restaurants, nightclubs with live music.
Yes.
You
I'm
know?
going to age, Mr. Gourzong. What decade are we talking about?
The 60s.
The 60s.
Yes.
Independence, pre and post.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, after independence.
Yeah.
50s, 60s, but
Right.
certainly the 60s would have been the period.
Okay.
Because I was too in the 50s. But everything was happening in Montego Bay
Where
then.
did most of the tourists come from?
North America.
Oh, yeah.
And England.
And England.
And England,
So
yes.
our European market was not yet developed?
No, definitely not developed.
Okay.
No, it was more just the UK and North America.
Okay. But you left just after high school and you went to Canada.
Well, I worked in Montego Bay for a few years first at the airlines.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I was a young supervisor
Okay.
and did what they, in those days they call weight and balance for the plane. Made sure that you flew safely.
Okay.
No plane has gone down in Montego Bay,
Okay.
right?
So after that you went to Canada?
Went to Toronto. Yes, my brother had then migrated to Toronto, so I went there and studied for a while.
That's your brother David?
David, yes. He still lives there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in what year was that?
That would have been what, maybe 68, 69, thereabouts.
So compare the Canadian experience with the Jamaican experience.
Well, I tell you what happened. When I went to Canada, I was so kind of involved with the music that a friend of mine, you know him too, Ali McNabb.
Yes,
Footballer.
Yeah.
Good friend.
Yes.
And he had also gone to Canada just about the same time. So we met up and we shared an apartment.
Yes.
And he also is a serious music man.
Yes.
So we started to sing.
Sing?
Yes.
As in?
Nightclubs and
Are
all
you
over the,
serious?
yeah, man. So a lot of the clubs, the Jamaican clubs and West Indian clubs, we would sing at in those days because there were quite a few Jamaican clubs in Toronto at the time.
Originals or covers?
Original Jamaican. A matter of fact, one was called Club Jamaica, another one was called the Whiff Club, which was the West Indian club, and you saw several clubs, you know, and people like Granville Williams.
Who is he?
His brother played with Byron Lee. He played with Byron Lee too. So when they migrated, they formed their own bands and played up there, you know. Quite a few bands, Jamaican bands, you know.
Yeah, you just said that you were well into the music. How did that start, having grown up in a Christian home?
Boy, that started from I was like about 4 or 5 years old. Another friend of mine, you know, we were going to prep school at the time, and but I heard no music in my house except except for classical music.
Yes.
Beethoven and Mozart
yes,
and Bach and
Right.
Schubert and people like that.
Right.
So I never heard any other music. And then I must have been about 5 or 6, couldn't be more than that.
Yes.
And we were coming home from school and we stopped at his uncle's place, which was around the corner on East Street. And they had this the old time gramophone.
Yeah, man.
You play the 78, you know,
Yes.
78, not 45, you know, the big 78
Are you
record.
serious?
Yeah, the 78 is a single record,
Yes.
but it was the old, the forerunner to the 45.
I see. Okay,
You know?
okay.
I put on this song called Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis Presley.
Yes, I'm familiar.
And it kind of blew me away.
Are you serious?
And then, of course, we became great Elvis fans.
Okay, okay.
And he got all the records, you know,
But of
the
course
blue
he was
suede
popular
shoes
at
and
that
Teddy
time.
Bear. Yes, he was like the
Elvis,
biggest
yes,
thing. And of course, that sort of led me now into people like Chuck Berry, the R&B
Yes,
people,
yes.
and Fats Domino, and Little Richard. So, you know, they were also the houseman at a famous country game called the Yellowbird.
Okay.
And that's where I used to steal out with all the Yellowbird. You know, they would already be and they would have like Sparrow coming in,
Yes.
and the Merry Men, and people like Desmond Decker would be
Okay.
yeah.
They come down to
Come
Montego.
down and there, and they would be like the headliner. They were the house band, and they had these clubs all around Montego Bay.
Where is Yellowbird now? Is it where Margarita lives?
No, Yellowbird was on Church Street. Everything was in town in those days, so there was really no crime.
Okay.
You know, it was unheard of.
Yes.
So you could be on the street. I mean, the places that I went to in those days, I mean, there's a famous club up in the Glendale here where we used to go up there, a great calypsonian called Borderless, that all the tourists and all of us would go there like at 3 in the morning and close the night. You know.
Are you serious?
That was like the last stop.
Yes.
You know, a place called the Sun Valley Club,
Yes.
you know, up on the Glendale Road.
Okay.
So, you know, we were all over the place.
Yes.
And then, of course, various promoters were bringing down the R&B acts like Fats Domino, Jackie Wilson, Benny King, the Drifters, Chuck Jackson, Otis Redding.
I think, especially persons of my generation, would be surprised to know that all of these artists
All of
were...
them, every single one. You know, but our dollar was strong, you know.
Oh, yes.
Our dollar was
I
strong,
see.
the American dollar was weak
Oh.
compared to our dollar, yeah.
Was it at the time it was $5 to one?
No, man.
It wasn't at that
No,
time?
no, the American dollar was 70 cents to our dollar.
Are you serious?
It was the other way
Are
around.
you serious?
Yes.
So you lived a bit of the better times?
Right. And then, of course, we started out to go into the jazz club. So people like Dave Brubeck and
Yes.
Nancy Wilson and other, you know, Stan Getz. I mean, you might be familiar with these names.
Yes.
But
Yes.
they were coming into Montego Bay to a place called the Cellar Club.
Okay.
And then they would go to another club called the Ocean View Club, like on a Sunday afternoon, a big crowd, you know. And I said, we grew up on jazz.
Right. Right. So many
Yeah.
club stories.
So many clubs in Montego Bay at the time.
How did
Yeah.
they find patrons?
All the tourists, because it was not all inclusive. So what would happen in the hotel is that the tourists would have their dinner, eat dinner.
Yes.
They'd be like a 3-piece band.
Okay.
Again, people who
What
play
is a
jazz.
3-piece band?
Just a piano, bass band, and a drummer.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
And they would just play the kind of dinner music,
Yes.
and they would close down by maybe 9 something.
Okay.
And then the tourists would all leave the hotel and go to these clubs. So the restaurants in Montego Bay and Capital Store again, dozens of them,
Yes.
and the club,
Yes.
all did well.
All right. Good. So we've been talking a bit about growing up as a child, but what's your favorite childhood memory? Something that sticks out to your mind, something that you're ready to share when you meet someone new, or what that you share with your friends.
Well, as a sportsman, my favorite childhood memory is when we beat JC 5-0 and won the Oliver Sheep.
What year was that?
1963.
1963.
Never
Jeez.
forget it. Take 5 was the popular song at the time. A jazz song by St. Dave Brubeck. You must know Take 5.
No, you know, if I hear it, I will
Tan,
know it.
tan, 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 tan. You know that
Oh,
song?
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. Yes, the tune is
so of course
familiar.
we were playing it the day when we were getting the 5-0.
Where was it played?
At Cornwall.
Oh, you beat them at home.
Beat them at home.
So why was it so special, JC? Beating JC?
It was the Oliver Sheep final, the best
Okay.
of Manning Cup.
And-
Champions against the Costa Cup champions.
Okay,
So
okay.
we were the so-called country
Okay.
champions and they were the Kingston champions.
But so that means it was a remarkable achievement because at that time, Rossi was on top.
No,
Even
man.
the Costa
No,
Cup.
man. Rossi that used to beat Rossi
No.
all red in those days, man. No, Rossi. No, man.
Are you serious?
No, the big football schools then were,
Yes.
Monroe and Cornwall in the country.
Yes.
And Kingston, JC, Georges, KC.
Yes.
You Excelsior.
So that is why it was so significant.
It was significant. Well, no, but we used to win, you know,
right.
a lot of times before.
Okay.
But this was particularly significant because, you know, I mean, I the man of the defeat. Wasn't close.
Did you play?
Not in that game, no, I never. I played, but not at that level.
What position did you play?
Yeah?
What position did you play?
I was a winger, outside left, forward.
That's what you are playing forward. Okay. So that brings me into your love of football. And it seems to me that you really love football because I understand you used to travel to Kingston.
Oh yes.
Yeah, to watch football matches on closed caption television.
And watch them at the stadium, watch them everywhere.
Are you serious?
So I Pele play in Kingston.
Really?
Yeah, man. So I played both for Santos and so I played for the New York.
Oh, that was club football. It wasn't Jamaican against Brazil.
Well, we saw Jamaica never did play Brazil in Jamaica.
Okay.
But I saw several Jamaican games at the stadium. We played Mexico, other games here.
Okay.
I mean, this is going way back.
How did your love for football then?
Again, I was a little boy.
Yeah.
My father, I mean, just kind of imparted all of that into me.
Yes.
He was speaking of the great Gourzong teams of like the 1930s, but we also won the Alabama
1930s.
And told me about like players like John Paul Sinclair, you know, and these people kind of went to bed thinking,
Did he go to Cornwall?
No, he never went to Cornwall either, but he was a big Cornwall fan.
Okay.
And of course, he would tell me about all the footballers from England, you know.
Okay.
Old-time footballers. I mean, his name mean nothing to you, but people like Dixie Dean and
that's
John Charles and all, Tom Finney and Stanley Matthews and all these people. Yeah, so of course I was just going to bed dreaming about it. But there's no TV or nothing. You have to imagine imagination and to
similarly, that was similar for because my dad, we grew up on cricket. You know, so he only loved right man coming down to the bridge, you know, that's my idea.
Yeah, cricket also, I mean, he was doing the same, he was doing cricket about people like George Headley and Don Bradman and all
the
these.
same kind of vibe, you know, he taught me to love the game.
Right.
And I think I understand cricket more than I understand football.
So I came to Kingston and watched cricket from 1962. At Sabina Park. I saw Frank Worrell back.
Yes.
Sir Frank Worrell. Way back, and Rowan Cannon, and way back.
So you were a Bonner fan?
Sports fan. I mean, I'd watch two crabs race if you put
Our Reggae Nation will return with our interview with Johnny Gourzong.